Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm your host Kyle Wood. Today we'll be learning about the awe-inspiring Egyptian pyramids, structures that have captivated humanity for millennia. But before we get into all the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little game. Think you can tell fact from fiction? It's not always easy. Consider this. For centuries, the image of countless enslaved people toiling under the whips of overseers to build the pyramids has been ingrained in popular culture. Movies and stories depict masses of forced laborers dragging massive stones across the desert under brutal conditions. But was this really how the monumental structures were created? Were the Great Pyramids of Giza truly built by legions of enslaved people? What do you think? Is this the actual fact or a common misconception? The answer will be revealed at the end of this episode. Now, on for our word of the day. Our word for today is pharaoh. The pharaoh was the ruler of ancient Egypt, considered not just a king, but also a god on earth. They held supreme political and religious authority. The word itself has an interesting origin. It comes from the Egyptian term per-ah, which literally translates to great house. Initially, per-ah referred to the royal palace, but over time it became the title used for the king himself, starting around the New Kingdom period. So when people spoke of the pharaoh, they were initially referring to the palace where the ruler lived, which eventually became synonymous with the rulers themselves. Now, for today's high five, our top 5 fun facts about the Egyptian pyramids. Now, first off, the Great Pyramid of Giza was built with such astonishing precision, modern engineers would struggle to replicate its alignment. The Great Pyramid, built for Pharaoh Khufu around 4,500 years ago, isn't just massive, it's a masterpiece of ancient engineering. Its base is almost perfectly level, deviating by less than an inch across its entire 13-acre footprint. Even more incredibly, the sides of the square base are aligned almost perfectly with our 4 cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. The side facing true north is off by only a tiny fraction of a degree. Achieving this level of precision without modern tools like GPS or even a compass, magnetic compasses weren't known in Egypt then. It's just mind-boggling. It suggests the ancient Egyptians had an incredibly sophisticated knowledge of surveying, mathematics, and astronomy. They likely used methods involving sighting stars or taking the sun's shadow to achieve this near-perfect orientation. Next up, some stones used in the pyramids weighed more than elephants and were transported hundreds of miles. While most of the core blocks of the pyramid were limestone, quarried relatively nearby Giza, some key elements required truly monumental effort. The massive granite blocks used for structural elements, like the roof beams in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid, for example, weighed anywhere from 25 to 80 tons each. That's heavier than multiple adult elephants. What's even more impressive is that this granite wasn't found locally. It had to be quarried in Aswan, over 500 miles south of Giza. Historians believe these colossal stones were transported down the Nile River on enormous barges during the annual flood season when the water levels were highest. Moving and lifting these multi-ton blocks into place with the technology available remains one of the most impressive logistical and engineering accomplishments of the ancient world. Number 3, the pyramids weren't just fancy tombs. They were gleaming white beacons topped with gold, seen as launching pads for the pharaoh's soul into the afterlife. While we often refer to the pyramids as tombs, their purpose in the eyes of the ancient Egyptians was far more profound and complex, and their original appearance was stunningly different from what we see today. They were part of a larger funerary complex designed to ensure the successful transition of the deceased pharaoh into the afterlife, where they were believed to become one with the gods. Imagine the pyramids not as the rough, sand-colored structures we see today, but gleaming white. Originally, the Great Pyramids were encased in smooth, highly polished white Tura limestone that would have shone brightly under the Egyptian sun. This dazzling appearance enhanced the symbolism. The pyramid shape itself is thought to represent the primeval mound of creation, or perhaps more fittingly, given the radiant look, the solidified rays of the sun god Ra, providing a stairway for the pharaoh's spirit to ascend. Crowning the very top was a capstone called a pyramidion, which may have been covered in electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver, or even pure gold, catching the first and last light of the sun like a divine beacon. This radiant exterior housed chambers that weren't just for storing the body. They contained everything the pharaoh would need in the next life, including treasures, furniture, food, sacred spells inscribed in the walls. The entire structure, gleaming white with a golden peak, reached for the sky. It was conceived as a kind of resurrection machine, meticulously designed according to the religious beliefs to facilitate the pharaoh's journey and eternal existence among the gods, ensuring the continued prosperity and order of Egypt itself. Most of the outer casing stones were unfortunately removed over the centuries for other building projects, leaving us with the underlying core structure we see today. Number 4, the iconic pointed pyramids we know weren't the first design. They evolved from earlier step-like structures. The smooth-sided triangular pyramids that dominate the Giza plateau are the most famous, but they represent the culmination of earlier architectural developments. The very first pyramid-like structure was the step pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, built around 2650 BCE by the architect Imhotep. It looks like several flat-top rectangular structures known as mastabas stacked on top of each other in decreasing size, creating a stairway effect. Pharaohs experimented with pyramid design. One notable example was the bent pyramid at Djoser, built for Pharaoh Sneferu, who was Khufu's father. It starts rising from the desert at a steep 54-degree angle, but then abruptly changes to a shallower 43-degree angle about halfway up, giving it a distinctive bent appearance. Scholars believe the builders may have changed the angle mid-construction due to concerns about instability. Sneferu's next project, the Red Pyramid, was the first successful attempt at a true smooth-sided pyramid, paving the way for the masterpieces at Giza. And finally, despite the scorching desert sun, the temperature inside the Great Pyramids stays remarkably cool and constant. Outside the Giza Plateau, temperatures can soar, especially during the summer months. Yet, deep within the massive stone structure of the Great Pyramid, the temperature remains remarkably stable, hovering around a constant 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius. This natural form of air conditioning is attributed to the sheer thermal mass of the millions of tons of stone used in its construction. The massive amount of rock acts as a giant insulator, absorbing heat very slowly during the day and releasing it slowly at night. This prevents the extreme temperature fluctuations experienced outside, creating a stable internal environment. While likely not the primary intention, it's a fascinating side effect of the colossal construction. Now for some news you can use. Are you planning a trip to see the ancient wonders someday? Here's a simple but crucial tip. Pack comfortable walking shoes and stay hydrated. Visiting the Giza Pyramid Complex or other sites like Saqqara and Djoser involves a lot of walking, often on uneven, sandy ground under the hot Egyptian sun. Wearing sturdy, comfortable footwear will save your feet and allow you to explore more without discomfort. Equally important is carrying and drinking plenty of water throughout the day. Dehydration can sneak up quickly in the desert climate, leading to fatigue and even heat stroke. Being prepared with good shoes and sufficient water ensures you can safely and comfortably soak in the incredible history and atmosphere of these magnificent sites. And here's something else that surprises many first-time visitors. While photos often make it look like the pyramids are isolated deep in a vast empty desert, they're actually right on the edge of the massive, bustling city of Giza, which is part of the greater Cairo metropolis. From certain viewpoints, you can see ancient wonders in the foreground with modern apartment buildings, roads, and city life sprawling right behind them. It's quite the juxtaposition. You might even spot familiar sights like a Pizza Hut not far from the plateau entrance. Though, if you're making the amazing trip to Egypt, I definitely recommend sampling the delicious local cuisine instead. It helps to manage expectations and understand that while the pyramids themselves are ancient, their surroundings are very much part of the modern world. Now, for the moment you've been waiting for, let's revisit our question from the beginning of the episode. Were the Great Pyramids built by enslaved people toiling under harsh conditions? That one appears to be largely fiction. While ancient Egypt certainly practiced slavery, archaeological evidence strongly suggests the pyramids were primarily built by a workforce of skilled, paid Egyptian laborers, not slaves in the way that we often imagine. Archaeologists have discovered extensive villages near the pyramids that housed the workers. Excavations reveal evidence of organized settlements with bakeries, breweries, and facilities to process fish and meat, indicating a well-fed workforce. Also, the tombs belonging to these workers have been found near the pyramids. Being buried with honor near the sacred structures of the pharaohs would have been unlikely for enslaved people. Inscriptions and graffiti left by work gangs even mention team names like the Drunkards of Melanchour or Friends of Khufu, suggesting camaraderie and pride rather than forced servitude. These were skilled craftsmen, engineers, surveyors, and laborers who likely worked on the pyramids seasonally, possibly during the Nile's inundation period when farming was impossible, and they were paid for their work, likely in rations of food, beer, and clothing. So the image of whip-wielding overseers driving legions of enslaved people is more Hollywood than history. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.